So sometimes people ask me about how I got started with my products. And, it wasn't something I sat down and said, hey, I'm going to create these really cool formulas. Basically, I'd been studying natural healing for 17 years, and I was at a Mom's Morning Out program, dropping off my toddler son to kind of get a break in my day. And I happened to be standing there talking to the director, and my heart went out to this boy who was screaming from separation anxiety. And I heard myself say, hey, I can make you a spray for that. And before I realized what I had said, she said, you make it, we'll try it. And so I went home, I pulled out all my books of all the things I've been studying, got my little notepad, got my pen, I'm all ready to get all this and write down this formula that I'm gonna come up with, not even knowing what I'm gonna do. But the thing is, I'm also very spiritual. So I prayed before I started, and I was like, okay, God, please help me. Please help me help this boy. And a few minutes later, the same way a musician hears music or a poet hears poetry, I began hearing this complicated formula, about 150 different ingredients in it. And wow. So I followed the directions and put it together, and then dropped the spray bottle off at the school, not knowing what was going to happen. And a week later, I ran into the director and said, hey, by the way, how'd that spray work? She was absolutely amazing. That this boy that I had heard screaming had been screaming the entire 4 hours he was there, and this had been going on for weeks. She said the first day they used the spray, he screamed 2 hours instead of 4. The second day, 20 minutes. The third day, 4 minutes. And now it was a week later, they hadn't had a problem since. And not only had they not had a problem with that boy, but all the kids in the room are getting along better, and they're all responding. So every morning when they'd come in, they'd spray the spray. And every time they'd take naps, they'd spray the spray. And if they go out for PE and come back, they'd spray the spray. So they were seeing all these changes happen, and next thing, my phone starts ringing with moms calling, asking for some. I need some for my car, I need some for my purse. And I'm going, I gotta figure out how to get bottles. I'd never done anything like this. So it was really something very cool. I think probably the coolest part even was that about a month later, a woman who heard about the children's spray called me up and said, hey, can you make something for grief? I know a family that's going through something really rough. And I said, let me see what I can do. So I sat down with the same thing, and I pulled out all my books and the things that I'd studied and believed that would help with grief, and got my little notepad ready, and once again prayed and said, okay, God, please help me help this family. A few minutes later, the same way a musician hears music or a poet hears poetry, I began hearing another formula, this formula for grief. And all of my formulas came about in the same way, never because I thought it was a really great idea, but in response to a need to help a family. I'm really grateful to be able to share them with you, and I hope they make the changes in your home that they made in mine and the families that I love.